October 7th was sort of an edifying moment for many, many people. We saw really what the true character of people was after October 7th, how they related to it, if they celebrated it, if they were horrified by it, if they were terrified by it, if they were empowered by it. We saw a lot of basic truths come out about individuals and also about societies. And one of the individuals who really stepped up and has become a very, very prominent and important voice for Israel and for Jewish rights in general, and for the hostages and their speedy release and their suffering, is the actor, the comic, Michael Rapaport. And I was really happy. Michael, I met him in one of his visits to Israel since October 7th in Tel Aviv with his wife, who's a beautiful woman, and had a fantastic time. And since then, we've been in touch and been trying to get him on the show. So he's back in Israel, and I'm so pleased to welcome the great Michael Rapaport to the Caroline Glick Show. Thanks so much.
I appreciate it, Carolyn.
I appreciate you.
It's funny to be here in the studio where all the magic happens, because I always watch the show.
Oh, well, there you go. And you see, it's not that great of a studio, but it's okay.
But you're great.
It's all about content.
And I want to acknowledge to the entire world that I know my shirt is wrinkled. I want to make sure that everyone knows that I know my shirt is wrinkled, so you don't have to go, your shirt is wrinkled, or you didn't have an iron. I all of those things. So I just want to get that out of the way. Out of the top important things to discuss during my trip to Israel is my wrinkled shirt. So to acknowledge that, because people on social media like, you had a wrinkled shirt. I know it's wrinkled. So anyway.
Okay, it's wrinkled, but as the person sitting across from you looking at the wrinkles one after the other, they look good. Okay. They're like a good wrinkle combo.
Thank you.
They're very nice.
Thank you.
All right, so now having gotten the important things out of the way, we can move to the inconsequential.
Yes.
All right, so October 6th, you're living in New York, you're an actor, you're a comic, you got everything going. Mm-hmm. Where were you on the whole Jewish stuff?
October 6th, I mean, traditionally I would be referred to as a bagel and lox Jew. I don't think I was full bagel and lox at that point. Also, I get offended by the term bagel and lox Jew because I don't know anybody, let alone any Jews, who have just a bagel and lox. I like an everything bagel, toasted,
right?
Cream cheese, onions, tomato, and capers.
What about lettuce?
Not lettuce. But that's up for. I wouldn't argue with you if you had lettuce.
So I got all that plus lettuce.
Okay, the lettuce is fine. I mean, possibly, but
and also, what kind of cream cheese?
Straight up.
Oh, okay.
And it's got to be a toasted everything bagel.
All right, because I like chive, but
I have no problem. I wouldn't argue with that.
Okay.
I like it. I like to mix the cream cheese also, but push comes to shove, I'll just say straight up cream cheese.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's how I grew up. For the most part, I have been speaking on things regarding anti-Jewishness, anti-Semitism for the 5 or 6 years before that. Something that was very, inciting for me was when the incident in Charlottesville happened. And they were saying Jews will not replace us. I had spoken up on that on social media. And then all the Kanye West things, I was speaking in the same sort of tone that people sort of hear me talking now. But as far as October 6th is concerned, I was by no means as informed. I was no means as in touch and aware of the history, the detailed history of Israel and Gaza, Israel and Palestine, Israel with the world. And, on October 7th, really October 8th, I'll be honest with you, because on October 7th, I had woken up late. I had performed the night before in Atlanta. I got a bunch of text messages from different people about what had happened. And like everybody, I was kind of piecing together what was going on. The videos were coming up. Videos were getting taken down. You're hearing, this, you're hearing that. And then that same night, October 7th in Atlanta, I was performing in Atlanta. I performed, went to sleep early, got up October 8th, Sunday, October 8th. And that's when everything sort of, I was like realizing the severity of the situation, the enormity of the situation. And then October 8th, when I landed from Atlanta to New York, there was a rally in Times Square, New York, and it wasn't a. It was supposed to be a pro-Israel, pro-Jewish rally, and I saw the celebration from the pro-Palestinian people, and there was a girl that was going like this, like mocking the Israeli people, the Jewish people there, and all that. Just like that 24 hours, 36 hours, like it was like something I just was like, whoa. And then the next day I started speaking out on it. And it's just really been a crazy time for me in terms of how I've been digesting everything since then. And it's been a slow, but very, 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 informative, obviously it's been a very sad, very frustrating, and truly enlightening time since, now we're at 271 days. And I would have never imagined that we'd still be here 271 days later, fighting, that hostages are still in Gaza, and the rapid change of anti-Jewishness specifically in my city. I'm born and raised in New York City. To see it grow and to see it every single day. There's an incident every single day in New York. It really hurts my heart. And it's confusing and it's frustrating and it's embarrassing because I love New York and I'm a prideful, braggadocious New Yorker. Yeah. And I've always felt that New York is the greatest city on earth. And in the last few weeks, I've really had to come to terms that right now, can I say that New York is the greatest city on earth with the open anti-Jewishness and the open anti-Semitism and the open anti-Zionism. And I like to just call it anti-Jewishness because this word Zionism, as you know, is taken on this term, and I think that people use it as a veil against anti-Jewishness, right. And they try to separate us and confuse us and all this stuff. So
I want to get to that in a second.
Yeah. So just trying to give you, like an opening sort of thing. All that has been very, very enlightening. Enlightening is usually a positive thing, and then of course, everything that's going on here, and the war, the hostages, the seeing it. When I came to Israel, I'd never been to Israel before, really? Never. And
you got here in November?
Got here in November, and seeing what I saw and what everybody's seeing, and going to Kibbutz Be'eri the first day I got here and seeing that, and smelling it,
right?
Because you could smell the fire still. You could smell the smoke. You could smell the blood. And you could smell the death. And you could hear the rockets and the missiles very, very, not like faintly, like they're like jolting, and they tell you, when you, be aware, when you get there, like what you're going to sort of, don't be scared of the missiles. And if this happens, we'll do this. And it knocked me on my socks. It knocked me. It rocked me, and then everything else after that first trip rocked me, and I've been rocked ever since. And all of it has been a very, very changing time for me.
There are a lot of ways that Jews have responded in the United States and really around the world, not so much in Israel, but around the world outside of Israel, for Jews that, we've seen this just volcanic eruption of anti-Semitism, of anti-Jewishness, of anti-Zionism, what hatred towards Jewish people as Jewish people, and violence, and social acceptability of this. And it's like the norm now in a lot of circles, including in entertainment circles. I mean, I saw, what's her name, Jennifer Gardner, drumming for Palestine. Like, what is that? You're like an LA party girl. You're a pretty good actress. I like a lot of your movies, but what is that? And that's just like, it's just the popular thing to do now. So there are Jews who look at that and just say, all right, it's too dangerous to be Jewish. I'm just going to, I'm just not going to talk about it anymore. And there are Jews who say, well, if that's where the popular girls are going, then that's where I'm going because I want to be a popular girl. And they're Jews for Palestine. And they've also, they believe it. They've been indoctrinated. And then there are Jews who are scared and not sure quite what to do. And then there are Jews like you who say, F this, all right? Let me just, so why do you think, is it a spiritual, like, for you, when you're looking at this situation, what is the motivator that is making you stand up and shout about it?
As I mentioned, like as far as my Jewish identity as a kid,
it wasn't just bagels and lox.
It wasn't just bagels and lox, but my parents both Ashkenazi Jews, New York Jews. My father's 91. He's in New York. He was obviously bar mitzvahed, and my mother's from the 5 towns of Long Island, which, for those of you, this
Very
is like
Jewish.
Doesn't get any more Jewish. Right. And they create and breed a certain kind of Jewish woman, very, very tough, Jewish woman. But the one thing that my father did talk to me about, and it wasn't. It was by proxy. It was almost like in regards to himself, but he always talked about this one story where he stood up to these bullies in his neighborhood on the west side of Manhattan that were bullying all the Jewish kids, and
on the Upper West Side?
On the Upper West Side, west. This is he was 10. Kids, they're kids, but there was kids from another neighborhood. They were a lot of Irish kids, and they came down, and they would always bully these kids, and they would always run away. And then one day, my father was with his stickball gang, his stickball team, and these kids said to my father, "You killed Christ. You killed Christ." My father's 10. He's like, "Well, I didn't." He didn't even know what they're talking about.
Right.
Like literally, but you killed. And my father's like, "I didn't kill Christ." And he turned around, and the rest of his friends had, sort of ran away. And my father fought the leader of their gang to a draw. And he always talked about this. And, and then when I started becoming an actor, my father never loved the stereotype of Woody Allen. He didn't like that. He liked Woody Allen movies. He just didn't like that stereotype. My father's, sort of obviously he's 91, but he's, is a bigger guy. He's not a tough guy. My father's an intellectual, but he just didn't like that stereotype. So that moment when he stood up to those bullies, and when I started acting, he was like, don't just be that stereotype. But he didn't pound it in my head. He said it a couple, and it resonated with me for some reason. I didn't listen to a lot of things my father said. I didn't listen to a lot of things my mother said. A lot of things. But those things resonated. And, I always identified clearly, proudly, and loudly as a Jew, as a Jewish person. I have, light hair, so a lot of times people think I was Irish. In New York, people always assume, that there's no Jews with, strawberry blonde hairs. I'm like, I'm Jewish. I'm okay, but I didn't have any anti-Semitism. I really didn't.
Right.
None. There'd be some ball breaking, but it wasn't it's amongst friends. I grew up, you're playing ball, you're this, your mom's this, but it's not, I didn't have any confrontations. I didn't have anything that was like jeopardizing. And, I was very clear, I'm not going to subject myself to any anti-Semitism if it comes my way, and the celebration of October 7th, the elation of October 7th, the euphoria of October 7th,
the bloodlust,
and then after, it's like, F the Jews, you deserve it. That's no. And I've spoken out about a lot of things. I've spoken out about tons of stuff, politically, socially, and I've spoken on behalf of Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ, everything. This rights, that's rights. I have a mouth. So of course, when it comes to myself and the threat of, my people and me being Jewish, just really me. It wasn't I was I'm speaking on behalf of her. I'm just this is not acceptable.
Right.
And and just sort of when the dust was sort of settling, if the dust is even settled, I don't even think, can we even say the dust hasn't settled. But, you know, when you were sort of being able to make a clearer view of things, like it was just kind of like, what is happening here? And I'm like, and then to see people, and I don't think it was I think I first saw it in Boston or in Massachusetts outside of what school? I don't think it was Harvard. I can't remember what school it was. Maybe it was Pennsylvania. Seeing posters ripped down immediately of hostages.
Right. Well, that was going on at NYU Law School pretty fast.
I can't remember. I feel like the first time I saw it, maybe it was outside of MIT. Maybe it was outside the campus area in Massachusetts. But I was like, what? Ripping down. These people are kidnapped, you know? And then I'm seeing it in New York. I'm like, what are you, like, you know, like on 9/11, there was, when people still thought that people were missing.
Right, I remember.
You would never think to rip down posters. Ever. I don't care what race, denomination, you would never think that. And you would never see a sign saying, yay, celebrate the martyrs, honor the martyrs, because that's when it became mainstream. This term martyrs became mainstream for me, and I think for a lot of people it was after 9/11. You know, these people think they're martyrs. They ran this plane in the air, and they're more. You know, you would never see any celebration. I think there was one video of some celebration in New Jersey, and apparently, as legends have it, you know, people went out there and kicked ass. But you would never see this elation in New York City. These people were bad. These are victims, and it made total sense.
Right.
But to see all these things happen, and the celebration, the bloodlust, and the euphoria, and it was like Super Bowl Sunday. It was like people were like jumping for joy, and this woman's like mocking, oh, you're crying about you're sad about these people. Yeah, you know, like the next day. So all these sort of things, you know, and me speaking out, and then kind of seeing that other people aren't speaking out, it's just, you know, and then coming to Israel, which was a real an eye-opener after the 7th, and seeing what I saw and talking to the people that I've talked to, and really, it's been we're heading to 9 months, a 9-month, you know, watching you, listening you. Honestly, that's how I reached out to you, is because I started, you know, and amongst others, it's been a real, you know, like an eye-opening thing in a lot of ways. You
know what's I find really amazing about the way that you've been doing your work is it's like you not only did you decide that you have to stand up to bullies, which is admirable and important, it's also that you said, what is this Judaism thing? So what is it to be a Jew? You take your pictures with your arm out with your tefillin on in the morning. Mm-hmm. Like that's going a couple steps further. That's saying, okay, I'm not a bagel and lox Jew anymore with cream cheese and all capers and all. I'm not just that. I'm all right. We're being attacked. What are we? Let's look into this. What's that about?
I'm figuring out what it's about, Carolyn. To be totally honest, I don't have a total answer. I know that. You know, as you get older, as I've gotten older,
I think we're the same old.
54.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, as you know, it's like, you know, as you get older, you know, you just it's just specifically the tefillin. When I started doing it, you know, I've done it in New York. I would probably say I've done it in New York reluctantly, you know, on the streets, you know, because there's always.
With the Chabad guys there?
All the time, you know, and they're very persuasive. And, you know, a lot of times, I remember the last time I did it with a Chabad guy, it was probably 2016.
All right.
17 maybe 2000. I don't know. Time is all screwed up. But they were so young. They were like kids, and they were like, yeah. And I'm like, you know, I'm like, all right, you know, like, what are you guys doing? You know, like, and I'm talking to them, and they just want to get their raps in, you know, and my wife, we have a picture of them because they were so young, they look so young, but there was like one of them's 18, and then they got the little, and it's such a New York thing, and you know, I wasn't bar mitzvah. My brother was bar mitzvah. I went to Hebrew school for one day. They asked me never to come back. I was a pain in the ass, Carolyn. And but you know where my Judaism is going and what it is. I don't have an answer. I know that, you know, I love rapping tefillin because to me, it's, it's a prayer, but it's also a meditation. It's a time to think only about everybody else besides myself. And it's also a thing, I take my time with it. So it's like a 5-minute way to it's like slows everything down for me. And especially, since October 7th, I'm a phone person, as people guess, like I'm on my phone, it's just a time to like start my day in a very peaceful, calm, just thinking about everybody but myself. Mm-hmm. And it's an important time to think about everybody but myself. And especially in regard to my Jewish people, and especially in regard to, and then when I say Jewish and Israeli people, to just send as much love, as positivity and strength as I possibly can. That's what it is to me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The reason I asked is not to say, oh, so you're becoming religious. It's more like, I quoted already on an In Focus, I think last week. I saw my colleague here at JNS, Jonathan Tobin, he interviewed Eric Cohen, who's the head of the Tikva Fund. And Eric Cohen just had a sentence that stopped me cold, which is that being Jewish matters. It's not just that, don't mess with the Jews. It has intrinsic importance. It's got nothing to do with anti-Semitism. And I've been playing around with that sentence in my head really since then, because that's really the crux of it. It's not just like, we're defending it because, go to hell, you can't mess with my people. It's also, look at how extraordinary Judaism is. Look at our history, look at our beliefs, look at, who we are. Like you wanna be able to attach yourself to something amazing. And so that to me is really what I was getting at. It's not like, how religious are you now?
Yeah.
It's like,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Sometimes I'm like, who
but
knows?
like the more you look at it,
I love it.
Right?
I love it. The more I look at it, the more I learn, the more I practice. I love it. Yeah. I love it.
No, I get it. I mean, it's one thing to defend something, and it's another thing to love something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I missed out on a lot of time doing that. When I was, in the first part of my life, and I really plan to make up for that time going in the second part of my life. I really do, and especially Israel. I love it so much, and I have such.
What is it?
Well, aside from the facts, and aside from the history, and aside from the beauty of Israel, the people are there. There's something about, historically, they'll be like New Yorkers. There's something about New Yorkers, and I lived in California, Los Angeles, because of my work for a long time. There ain't nothing about Los Angelinos. You could say, all right, Chicago. There's something about the people of Chicago. And when you get to the real Chicago, people are like, all right, yeah, I get it. But there's something about the Israeli people, the spirit, the resilience, the vibe, the simplicity, the light. And I think, and I am no expert, but I think that those things combined with growing up knowing that you're 24/7, 365 and backwards and forwards under attack and under scrutiny, there's something that grows within the people here. And it's not just a few people. It's very, very apparent in all the people here. And obviously not all Israelis are the same. Not all Jews are the same. But that thing that I just hopefully mentioned, articulated in a decent way, that's the same. And I just, and I feel comfortable here, and I love it. I love it. And I love the people, and I love the spirit, and I love the beauty, and I love the history. And I love I just love it. And I'm just sort of, here, like I'm not even in the first quarter of me understanding Israel is not even done. Like if I was doing it in football terms, like 4 quarters, I'm not even done with the first quarter yet. Maybe I'm halfway through the first quarter. I'm certainly not in the second quarter at halftime yet. There's so much, and it's just awesome. And even the, and also there's flaws. Like one thing that, like there's flaws to Israel, there's flaws to the government, but there's flaws to me, there's flaws to you, I'm sure. There's flaws, certainly flaws to America. There's certainly flaws to New York, so it's like, I feel like, for some reason, the naysayers or, people think that for some reason, this tiny little place and this tiny little beautiful place in the middle of, so much chaos and confusion and so much, hunting to take us down. We're supposed to be held to this unattainable perfection, which is crazy to me. It's crazy to me. So all those things, I love all that, but it's like Israelis will probably be the first to tell you that this ain't a perfect place, and this isn't. It's also, 75 years old. Like, my father's 91. My father's older than the state of Israel.
Right. Yeah.
And there's flaws in my father. He'll be the first to tell you, sorry, Dad. You know what I mean? But it's like, so it's like, chill out. Like there's growth, and the growth is happening, but the yearning for the growth is very apparent. So.
No, I agree. But if we want to go back for just a second to the first half of your life, which is building up your career, your very successful career in show business, which is an impossible business, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Be successful.
Yeah.
There you are. And now, because in the second half of your life, you're getting into stuff maybe closer to home.
Yeah.
Who you are, what it means to be a Jew, and all. In the face of this kind of onslaught, you've been canceled in a lot of places. You had a couple of shows canceled. What's going on with that? How's your career doing?
My career's doing good. I asked myself, am I canceled yet? I'm not canceled. You know what I mean?
Don't worry, I've been canceled so many places. It's all good.
No, I mean, like, trust me, I'm very aware of the slope that I'm on. I wasn't aware of the slope that I was on probably till, March or something like that, because, I certainly wasn't aware of the slope I was on when I started speaking out on everything. By no means. I didn't, and I don't think anybody did. I think this is taking unprecedented turns, being, pro-Israel, pro myself, pro-Jewish, pro what's right. It shouldn't just be us speaking on this, but as being as outspoken as I have been, I'm aware that there's a little heat on me. I don't feel canceled. I don't feel like I'm going to be canceled because I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't said anything wrong. People in my business, some people that have been canceled, they deserve it. They did some wild stuff. Some people are like, okay, Al Franken, like, you canceled Al Franken, okay. There's other people.
He canceled? He did something.
It's with the photographs, but it's like they ate their own with him.
Right.
So there's different things, but I'm like, I haven't done anything, I haven't said anything wrong. But speaking out, in a nutshell, it could be deemed as, it's too, because there's so much, I don't know if it's veiled. I don't know if it's not veiled. It's like, but there's so much anti-Judaism, anti-Semitism, and
And it's not just directed against Jews, by the way. I mean, I had Patricia Heaton on the show, and I wouldn't say that she's. I mean, I don't know where that's going, but she said words to the effect of, and I don't want to misconstrue her remarks, but there was a sense that there's price to be paid for being an outspoken supporter of Israel and of Jewish people and opponent of anti-Semitism, and she's Catholic.
Well, we shall see. We shall see. I feel very confident in my ability and in what I've done as an actor, my ability as a comedian. The shows that were canceled in Michigan, it was outside in the suburbs of Michigan.
Detroit, you mean?
It wasn't Detroit. It was Royal Oak, Michigan, which is near Dearborn, the infamous Dearborn, Michigan.
Dearborn is Stan.
Which is like kind of like one of the well, it's the biggest Muslim population in the United States, and it's also like like a big part of Joe Biden's campaign, and you got to get the people of Dearborn, and those clubs were not happy about doing it.
They were celebrating 9/11, by the way, on 9/11 in Dearborn.
I'm not surprised. You know, the clubs that in Batavia, is it Batavia, Illinois?
Batavia.
Batavia. You know, the club out in Royal Oak and the club in Batavia, they were not happy about it. They were getting phone calls. The clubs were, these are small comedy clubs. They were getting phone calls. They were getting threats. Workers were getting threatened. And the police in those cities, in those areas, they would not be able to confirm protection. So inevitably those shows got canceled. So be it. The thing that bothered me,
I think there were a lot of Arab and Muslims out in that area.
yeah,
Chicago
that's what
also.
I found out. But the good thing is that I have another show that was rescheduled in Chicago at the Vic Theater, the famous Vic Theater, November 8th.
Oh, okay.
So I'm glad about that. But I'll tell you, you know, when the show in Illinois got canceled, you know, I called my wife and I was like,
Because there were shows that were canceled, the House of the Blues in Chicago.
yeah, they're going after it. They're threatening. They're making it. They want to make it hard. I did not want to cancel, and there was an Israeli security company that was willing to support. Whatever, they have to do what they have to do. Workers were like, I'm not coming in. I'm getting threatened. I get it. You're a 23-year-old bartender or waitress. Like, you don't. This is not. They're like, yo, I'm trying to just make a living. I understand all that. The show is going at November 8th at the Vic. Tickets are on sale, michaelrapaportcomedy.com, because I want that show to be one of the best shows ever. The thing that bothered me is, and I was telling my wife when I found out that it was canceled, I was like, I'm embarrassed. And she said, what do you mean embarrassed? And I didn't understand why I kept feeling embarrassed. The thing that I felt embarrassed about, I don't know if that's the right term or right word, but because I was afraid that if they're going to be able to accomplish canceling me, who's been so outspoken, and the people that are
It
hedging.
was TCL was canceled in Chicago.
Yes, Modest Yao, yes. But I was like, if they're going to be able to cancel my show, you know, I don't want anybody else to be concerned about them being canceled. I don't want them to feel scared to speak up. I don't want them to feel scared to be proud. You know, if you're going to go after Jerry Seinfeld, who's the most G-rated comedian,
Right.
He hasn't cursed. His show, the reason why it continues to be shared all over the world is because it resonates with everybody.
Right. It's a show about nothing.
It's a show about nothing. There's no cursing. There's nothing political in it. It's just simple, good. It's like Mr. Rogers or like, you know, Santa Claus. It's like Mickey Mouse. It's like the most G thing, and all his comedy's that. But if you want to go heckle Jerry Seinfeld because he's come to Israel, he hasn't even said anything bombastic. Like they're trying to make like we're going to go for the top,
Right.
get everybody fall in line. It's like because Jerry Seinfeld's like, come on, this is first of all, it's one of the best of the best. Second of all, like so it's like the mere being Jewish and then you know just visiting Israel and saying this is not okay. What's happened? We're going to go after you, and it's like, fuck. Can I curse?
Yeah,
It's a
whatever.
fuck you, man. Like, you know, and you must stand up. And the frustration with the rest, forget the rest of Hollywood, but the Jewish people in Hollywood that have disappeared, who've made their careers off of this stereotypical, you know, it's great, it's funny, it's part of our culture, but they've made their careers off being Jewish who have said nothing. And again, you don't have to be as bombastic as me. You don't have to be as politically, you know, fiery as me or as aggressive as I am, but you could at least say the word hostages.
Right.
The two words that have sort of become, you know, curse words are Zionist and hostages. It's like you can't even, it's like it's even worse. If you say hostages, it's like, you know, so to see all that and to go through the award season of the Grammys, the Emmys, the Academy Awards, you know, through January, February, March, and knowing that in my business, people say something about everything. Right. It could be women's rights, Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ, equal pay, trees being burned down, pigeons, you know, with malaria, whatever. But to see no one say anything, it was. I woke up the morning after. I think it was
No, they were actually wearing these pins, I think, at the Academy Awards. Did you see that? Of that?
I saw it all. It was disgusting. And then the one person who says something is a Jewish director who wins an award for a film about the Holocaust and refutes Judaism. And those people clapped for him. They were like, yeah. It hurt my heart. It hurt my heart. And I felt very alone. And I was like, this is what I do. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I can't be with these people. I know not everybody feels that way, but like seeing all that on a public forum, it was. But the other part of it is, because people ask me so much about actors and why haven't they spoken out? Why do you think they haven't spoken out? When they speak out about Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ, global warming, blah, blah, 99.9% of the time, us as viewers, I'm like, get off the stage, get your award, so-and-so, and get out of here. So, these people that haven't spoken out, they're going to have to reckon with that later. Because the one thing I do know in my heart is that when this is all done and we do eradicate these animals, the world will thank us later.
I know, but it really reminds me the cultural moment or period anyway that we're in. It really reminds me of like the Soviet bloc, and Milan Kundera writes about it in his novels about what it was like living under communism in Czechoslovakia, and how you could get in trouble for a joke, and people are getting in trouble for jokes all the time now. I mean, they've been getting in trouble for jokes for a long time now, way before October 7th, and you get in and like. Art is just going out the window. Like, there's nothing you can laugh at. There's nothing you can write about. There's there are just, you have to have, these politically correct characters. We did a spoof on it. I ran this satire thing, Latma, for many years, and we had a sketch on it of the film board. And the lady's looking at the film that's coming in asking for grant money. She says, well, where's the gay guy? Where's the Arab? It was a family drama. It was like, no funding, right? Because you just don't. You're not. We've got a thing here. You have to follow it, and it feels like I barely watch Hollywood movies these days. I watched Top Gun 2, and I came out. I was so happy.
Yeah.
And my husband was like, well, why do you love this movie? I'm like, because they were pro-American.
Right.
Like, when was the last time there was a movie out in Hollywood where the Americans liked America? They had an American flag flying at the back of their boat. Now it just feels like you're not allowed to.
It's the political correctness is definitely. It's screwed up comedy. It's pulled our hands. It's like if you're talking about a boxer, like you're not throwing punches. It's like, oh, I can't say this. You're just like it's bad. And then the stereotypical casting. It's like you must have this person, this person, this person. It's like you say, it's a family drama, or this idea that. This idea that there was a film that was supposed to be made with Scarlett Johansson playing a transsexual man, and they said they want a real transsexual to play the part. The film will never get made. And so Scarlett Johansson said, I'm not going to do the film. I don't feel comfortable, But now this story, whatever the story is, I can't remember what it was, it'll never get told because there'll never be a person. It's a business.
Right.
And it's like, at what point does it end? Like, so can only Jews play Jews? Leonard Bernstein film, what's his name?
The guy, he did a Juno.
Yeah, okay, cool. And like, okay, but it's like, should we get real gangsters to play in The Sopranos? And where does it stop? Like, where does their actors are actor? Where do Daniel Day-Lewis fall in this? Like, like, where do we end it? So, and that's certainly, I think, one of the reasons why, financially, my business has taken a hit. I think
in the media, you have this thing where these people, they said if the media now is no longer about, largely about giving people information about what's happening. No. It's about shaping consciousness. It's about telling people what they're supposed to think and only giving them news that fits into what you're supposed to think about for the, by and large. But then as a result, you got this cottage industry of websites, of social media, and of alternative webs, news sites like JNS, like, all kinds of them in the United States that people are going to. And on the one hand, that's great because there's a market for it. On the other hand, then everybody gets pigeonholed into their cocoons. Yeah. And nobody talks to each other. And then the fissures in society just become yawning gaps that you can't bridge.
It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. I mean, and the American media and the American news is bad. And it's like, we're these. Obviously, we're in a war, like a real war, physical, actual war in Gaza. but we're in a war with, these are like, and this war, Jews in Israel, we've gotten,
Slammed.
not even close. I mean, because this is the first time there's a war being played out here. And it's...
Yeah, it was played out on laptops in the past. Now it's being played out on handheld devices.
And it's... Yeah. It's wild what's gone on, that did this. So...
It's a sewer. So when
it's a sewer.
Like, so when you look at this, and Israel, as we all hate each other. Like, it's not easy time for anybody. It's a hard time. It's very hard to be a Jew these days. But when I saw you did some commentary on Twitter about the debate between Doddering Biden and Trump, and you look at what's happening in the war here. I mean, where do you see things moving in the future for Jews in America and America itself? America, tomorrow we're going to be marking July 4th. Where do you see things? How do you feel about stuff? Where do you want things? What do you want to have happen? Maybe that's a better question. It's more optimistic.
What do I want to have happen?
Yeah. What would be your ideal scenario?
My ideal scenario would be 150% public support of Israel. My ideal situation would be 150% support for anything anti-Jewish.
No, opposition to anything anti-Jewish.
Any opposition, right. And there'll be consequences to it, immediate and hard. I also think that I'm just kind of free flowing.
Yeah.
I also think that it shouldn't take me longer to fly from Cleveland, going through security and TSA from Cleveland to New York than it should be for somebody to cross the border. Cleveland to New York is bad. Orlando airport, you're there for an hour and a half before you, and I got pre-check. You're there for an hour and a half. It shouldn't take me an hour and a half in first class with TSA pre-check and clear to go from Orlando to New York than it should, to cross the border. Yeah. Let alone Canada to New York. It's like worse flying from Canada to New York than flying overseas. It's crazy. They have to stop the border. Those are the things, and my taxes and my interest rate. My mortgage is ridiculous right now. So those are the things that are first and foremost, in closer.
So fix the border, close the border.
Israel needs to be supportive, and I don't like the good cop, bad cop crap that they're doing. I don't like it. I don't know why.
Pretty much bad cop, bad cop.
Bad cop, bad cop. Yeah, and like the rhetoric, and we support but, and the but, and Kamala this and but, and bull crap. And I want the President of the United States to feel comfortable and confident enough to say the names. If you're not going to say the names of all 120 hostages, that's a long time. To drill the 8 American hostages. There's 8 American hostages. 8. And I'm like, there's one family that's from Chicago. There's, the Paul and Goldberg.
Right.
Omer's family, Nutra's family. They're from Long Island.
The Tenafly.
The Edan, Alexander from Tenafly. These are New York, that's tri-state area people. I want the president to see, I want you to, we're coming to get you now. Not 9 months later. We are coming in there to get you. We shouldn't have gone this far. There shouldn't have gone this far. And, there should be no shame or hesitancy in that. And I've said, so what I want is I want some, some bulls, and I want some, it's okay to to stand for what's right and what's wrong, and I got blowback, but I was like, let's say, God forbid, on October 7th, there was an all-girls basketball team from an HBCU, a historically black college that was at the Nova Festival, and 10 American black girls had gotten kidnapped, and they were part of the 200 plus that got kidnapped from the begin with. What would the reaction from America be then? You think that 10 black girls from an historically black college would still be in Gaza now? No effing way. No way. one way or another, they would have gotten out. They would have been released. And it would have been all over every sports, every ESPN, every WESPN, every Emmys, Grammys. You think that they wouldn't have talked about that at the Oscars?
You think they would have? Because
Hell yeah, no, 500% they would have.
Because you see that,
Michelle Obama, bring our girls back with the. You think that if there had been 2 kidnapped black girls,
I don't know.
one kidnapped black girl from America who's like a girl from
the Bronx,
from New York, I don't know, Iowa, the American girl. He was here. It was non-Jewish, not an Israel-American citizen, an American citizen who was at the Nova Festival. You bet your ass you'd have been already.
I disagree with you. You know why?
Look what we did for Brittany Griner.
There were 3 American servicemen, all African-American, in Jordan, who were shot by Iraqi militia. I think that they were killed when Iranian militia, Iranian-controlled Iraqi militia shot missiles at their base in Jordan, right along the tri-border area of Jordan, Iraq, and Syria.
It ain't Israel, though.
No, but they were all killed, and there was no American response. It was like, oh, okay, we're going to cut a deal with the Iranians, and then they're going to have their proxies stop attacking American military assist. So, I mean, we're
talking about civilians.
Yeah, but we're talking about civilians. But then you see that you do have a lot of African-American artists and stuff who are coming over, and everybody ignores them. The ones who get all of the support and the public sympathy are the ones who are anti-American, like that Brittany Griner or Kanye West, who attack Jewish people, who attack the United States, who won't stand for the Star-Spangled Banner. They're the ones who get the sympathy. So, look at Clarence Thomas. Right? If his kid had been kidnapped from the Nova Festival, you think that anybody would have cared? No, because he's a conservative. So I think that it's got more to do with the political identity and with their support for Israel. I think that political support for Israel has become toxic for progressives, and they'll prefer the Palestinians to women from historically black college. I'm thinking, what's the name of it? Stolman. Or not?
Yes.
They're not gonna care because they're pro-Israel. They've got the wrong politics. I've gotten to the point where I'm thinking that this Palestinian thing, it's become the Vietnam War of the 2020s, and if you're not pro-Palestinian and want to annihilate the Jewish state, then you don't deserve the protection of the PC police.
I hope that's not true, but I understand. I hope that's not true. I hope these dummies. I think that there's still a minority. These people, the pro-Palestinian people. I think that they're, the pro-Hamas people, pro-terrorist people.
I don't know that there's any Palestinian group. And certainly not here. The Palestinian Authority never condemned October 7th. Nobody ever condemned. No organized Palestinian group that I can think of.
They were happy. It's the greatest state.
Also in America, none of them really condemned at all October 7th. So, you're saying it's as much only Hamas as it was only Hamas people in Gaza who came in and murdered and raped and burned and stole and kidnapped. I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like making generalizations, but how can you not?
I know. I agree. It's concerning, with the whole thing is.
All right, last question, presidential politics.
What do you want to know?
Well, aside from wanting to,
I'm not voting for Biden. I don't know if people watching know how hard I was on Trump when he was a candidate. I'm not voting for Biden. I'm not voting for Biden. I'm not voting for Kamala. I'm not voting for anybody that isn't. I'm not voting for any meandering, double talking out of the side of your mouth, sideways talking, upside down talking. My people, Jewish people, Israel, and my money. And I might have said in the past, my money in Israel. Now Israel and my money. I'm knock on wood. Fortunately, I could say that Israel and my money. Period. This holding up weapons and building rafts. What the hell did he build it for?
A raft's float. This didn't float. It was sinking.
What is it?
The port, the temporary pier.
The port, like a port that should have been in a lake. You can't even park a motorboat in a lake. And this is all to go, well, I did
$320 million of taxpayer money.
And he thought that was going to be like, I built this $320 million to get the, you built you can't even go water skiing off that piece of shit. So all that, and they did that so he could say in November and in November or in Chicago at the Democrat, well, look what I did, and we're sending, you made a piece of shit. Any of this, I'm not down with any of it. So I'm not gonna say who I'm voting for. What I could tell you what I'm not voting for right now. I'm clear on that, and that it's of the utmost importance to me. I don't like texting you to say, because I quoted you the other day where I said to you, because I don't know if you remember what you said to me, but I said, I was like, I texted a few people, I was like, is it crazy to come here because of what's going on in the North? And you said, it's crazy. I feel crazy that I have to leave.
Right.
Which I thought was so Zionist, and I thought it was so strong of you. And I told my wife that, and I don't like. Listen, forget the North for a second. We need our people back, and these animals that did it. Now, whether they should have gotten them, I don't know enough to. Yes, I feel like we should have. It should have all. It's an all. I don't want any more IDF soldiers dying. I want our people back, and I want these animals to every last one of them, or who thinks every last one of them, whether they're innocent civilians, official Hamas, Hamas proxies, cousins, anybody who's supporting it, they got to go, wherever they are. Anywhere we could call them, whatever they could tell us what they want to be identified as. They need to go, each and every one of them, because what happened on October 7th is just it's 50 9/11s.
I know, and the most amazing thing is that you had this righteous rage of everybody after 9/11, and here you had this bloodlust. You had this celebration all over the world.
Immediate bloodlust.
Immediate. That was what was so shocking. But
and publicly, it was crazy.
It still is. They're still doing it.
It's got even more.
Worse.
Now you got more dummies, more idiots, more bullies. More anti-Jewish bullies, disenfranchised bullies, face-covering coward bullies, it's that ain't okay. But more importantly is our people need to be okay. And our people need to be able to mourn. One thing that I think about is, if you lost somebody on October 7th, you're not mourning properly. I don't care if you've sat Shiva. How could you mourn when this is still going on? How can you mourn when your neighbors, everybody is so 1 degree of separation. How can you really mourn when your friend or your next door neighbor's daughter, mother, father, grandfather is still in Gaza? How can you mourn when it's the mourning is the mourning process is not happening because Israel is still,
there's no closure.
We're still bleeding. We're bleeding every day.
We're in war. I mean, we were invaded, and that's the thing. People don't realize it was an invasion. I had Colonel John Spencer.
That was a great episode,
right? And he was talking about this is a division formation of light infantry supported by artillery and cyber warfare. And Israel was invaded. It was a full scale invasion by Hamas, and people are just like, it was a terror attack. No, it was not a terror attack. And you have to be able to call things by their names and understand. And so we were invaded. We're at war. We're in a war for our survival. As we saw on October 7th, this is what they do when they get their hands on us, and that can't happen ever again. And to prevent that from happening, we have to do certain things like defeat them. And so, it's a very odd situation where even we are having a hard time really understanding because of all the misinformation, all the lies that are being thrown at us all the time. We're like, well, no, wait, it's not that. It's something else. And then
every day
from every direction, it's very, very difficult. So, you're an inspiration to me.
Well, I appreciate it.
You are, because, I mean, I'm a tough Jew and you're a tough Jew, and and it's good to know that there are a lot of us out there. And I want you to talk a little bit to the people about how it makes you feel to be standing up, because I think people have to understand that it's okay to stand up, and that, prices are paid, but, there are rewards to tell the truth.
Price schmish, cancel. I ain't worried. It's just like you can put a little bit. It is more important now than ever, certainly during my lifetime to be able to stand up, however you can, however you need to, however you could afford. It's more important than ever to inform yourself, especially, because the more you arm yourself with information, and the more you arm yourself, with knowledge and facts and truth and history, the more confident you'll be able to stand up, especially, going into, the upcoming college semester when it starts for the younger people, and even people my age, older, and in between. It's like, you have to, what it means to be Jewish in America is changing day by day, because people are going to ask you, what kind of Jew are you? Where do you stand? Where do you stand on Israel? And you should be able to proudly say, I stand with Israel 500%. And if they say why, this is why. Boom, 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 boom. You don't even need to have an answer why, because you could be like, I stand with Israel 500%. Go fuck yourself. But if you want to explain, and it is good to have conversations, you should be able to explain why. Boom, 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 boom. Because, just like that, when people know that you're Jewish, they see a star, they see how you identify. It's like a question, like, oh, where did you? What are you, pro-Palestinian Jew? What kind of Jew are you? And I want to make people they know what kind of Jew I am now, very clearly. Mm-hmm. And going forward, that question's going to be asked. And the more information and education you have, and the more facts you have, and
the prouder you're going to be about.
The prouder, and yeah. So all those things are. I'm going through, and I encourage everybody else to do it in however they want to do it. There's no right way, wrong way, whatever. Just do something, and fill yourself with something. I like to fill myself with information every day, even if it's just a little thing, because it's like going to the gym. It's like my mental Jewish gym. You know what I mean? In my brain, because I need it. But we all need it. Everybody needs it, and particularly the younger people, or the people that are like, don't be hesitant. It doesn't have to, you don't have to be crazy or like me or as outspoken as me. But you need to do something, and even if it's quiet. It's just internal.
I agree with you. I think it's important for people to, first of all, I want to thank you for everything that you do.
I love you, Caroline, and I appreciate you so much. And I tell you, I watch you. Me and my wife watch you, and and the episodes, and like the one with the John Spencer. Like, I mean, there's so many times where I'm like, these things hit me. I'm like, holy shit. Like that episode in like particular, I was like, what the, what's happening here? Like I was like crazy.
Oh, it's important. It's important what you do, and it's important what all of us do. I'll just give you one last story. It was that Patricia Heaton, so she was on my show on Zoom because she lives in Nashville. And then I was in Nashville at a conference in, I don't remember, April, May, one of my trips. And I met her, and she has this great organization called the October 7th Coalition. And they were bringing Israeli musicians. They brought this fantastic musician named Yosef Bach to Nashville, where they had them. The thing that I saw was Yosef Bach comes in. He wrote an unbelievable song when he was in reserve duty in the North, and they brought together all of these local musicians in Nashville to this recording studio, and they did a live recording of the performance. And I'm sitting there, and I have to speak at this conference the next morning, and I'm thinking to myself, this is amazing. Because I couldn't do any of this. I could barely do chopsticks, and I studied piano, failed student for like 11 years. Terrible waste of money. Anyway, so, and I'm watching all these people making music, and it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, and they're here to support Israel. Mm-hmm. Like everybody has their way of expressing that, and I was actually really empowered by that. Everybody can do something.
100%, I agree.
And you do so much. So I just want to thank you so much for being here, for being in my studio, and for being the great Jew you are.
I appreciate it. I'm trying my best.
You're doing great.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.